And all right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is one of our favorite parts of the conference, where our annual awards are presented. I'm really excited to welcome back our favorite MC, Eric Jepson, who will be presenting the awards in a presentation put together by our awards coordinator, Andrew Hall. I am going to just get out of the way. So we're really excited about the work that we have to share with you. A lot of exciting things have happened this year, and here we go.
Thank you, Mel. And thanks to the rest of the presidency for putting the conference together. And a special thanks to Andrew Hall, who made the slideshow you're looking at right now and who collected the citations from the award teams that he wrangles. So thanks to Andrew and his team for reading and listening to and watching so many things this year and discovering what was great. And let's start with comics. As you can see, we had 3 finalists this year. Friends Forever, written by Shannon, Hale, and illustrated by Leuyen, Pham. Matt Page's Future Day Saints, the 2nd volume, and the 1st volume of The Glass Looker by Mark Elwood. And this year's winner of the AML Award for Comics is Friends Forever. And I don't think Shannon is here, but correct me if I'm wrong. Otherwise, I'm moving on because we want to get to the readings later today. So let's talk about drama. Drama, we have 4 finalists. We have The Keen Stag, REDEEMHer, Gin Mummy, and 1820, the musical. And the winner of the award this year is REDEEMHer by Tatum Langton. And I just realized I'm going to read Tatum's her citation and let her speak. And then I forgot something that I need to go back and do. But REDEEMHer, this solo play, is an intimate, funny, no-holds-barred autobiographical examination of one woman's faith journey in the context of her perfect Mormon marriage. 2 Latter-day Saints meet, share their plans and dreams with each other, fall in love, and are sealed in the temple. But plans change, dreams are abandoned, and they fight, grow apart, only to find comfort and connection with others. Latter-day Saint audiences will find much about Tatum's character and story familiar, yet the play is structured to be accessible to audiences not familiar with the language and culture of Mormonism. Langton is honest and vulnerable, and a touch irreverent. She does not treat the faith with kid gloves, instead trusting her audience with an unflinching view of her whole story, both the bad and the good. And there is so much good. And Tatum, I believe you are here before performing the play later tonight in LA.
Yes, hi, I am. Thank you so much for this award. It means the world to me, especially to be accepted by the Association of Mormon Letters. I really, though this is something that is great for all audiences, I really do hope that the Mormon audience, the LDS audience, does get a chance to read and or see it, because it is, I am you, you are me, and it's for you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I was so excited to get to someone who's here that I failed to read the citation for Shannon Hale's book. So I'm going to read that real quick, and then we'll move right on. Friends Forever is explicitly Mormon in its depiction of church culture, personal testimony, guilt and confusion, hope and faith, but not exclusively so, as its stories of awkward adolescence resonate beyond the experiences of church members. Pham's consistently strong artwork represents the best type of storytelling that comic books and graphic novels allow. But what is most impressive is the sense of honesty permeating every page. The simultaneous and contradictory urges of a 13-year-old both to conform to and push against her church-centered family resonate as true. And I'd like to point out real quick that the citations I am reading are abbreviated, and you should be looking at the website possibly as early as tomorrow to read the full citations. Let's move on to film. So we have 5 finalists in film. We have His Name is Green Flake, Maggie on Stratford Ave, Scenes from the Glittering World, The Touch of the Master's Hand, and Witnesses. And the winner of the film award this year from the AML is Witnesses. Mitch Davis has penned a powerful screenplay exploring one of the most controversial and perhaps misunderstood episodes of the Restoration, how 3 witnesses could see the golden plates yet fall away from Joseph Smith and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Director Mark Goodman's approach to the script creates a period-accurate film with powerful dramatic performances, stunning scenery, and cinematography, a moving orchestral score, and effective pacing and editing. The frame narrative, as told by an aged Whitmer, is a structural approach seen before in films about church history, but this performance adds weight and conviction, presenting the narrative as fact instead of conjecture. These performances have weight and realism, and they present these men as both admirable and humanistically flawed. And I understand our director, Mark Goodman, is here.
I am here, yes. Thank you for, well, a big thanks to the Association for Mormon Letters for your support of the good works, in so many areas. And it's interesting, early on, we had a screening of witnesses with some scholars, and some of the feedback that we received was that we had humanized Joseph and the witnesses too much. Or in other words, we were showing too many faults, and that's perhaps something that we're not used to in Latter-day Saint cinema. And I have to admit that feedback caused me some sleepless nights. And in fact, we had a wealthy donor offer to pay for it if we were willing to fix it. And so a year later, we found that here we are. One of the things that audiences have loved the most about the film is this honest portrayal. Interesting, nobody expects to produce a movie in the middle of a global pandemic or to prepare, a release, a theatrical release when theaters aren't really open. But some of those challenges brought some unique blessings and opportunities, and isn't that what life is all about? And I'm grateful for the challenges that we faced. When I say we, it's Russ, James, and I, we're grateful for the opportunity to be a part of the Witnesses Project. We're grateful for the executive producers, Dan and Debbie Peterson, for their vision. I'm grateful for the Interpreter Foundation and their mission. And I personally have a new love and respect for the witnesses of the Book of Mormon, and I add my testimony to theirs. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. So as a bit of an introduction to the Lyrics Award, this is the second time the AML has given an award for lyrics. The last one was about 5 years ago. It looks like we're probably going to do this every other year. The albums considered this year were from the last 2 or 3 years, and they are albums by David Archuleta, Christian Asplund, Emily Brown, The Killers, and Andrew Wiscombe. And before I announce the winner, I'd just like to say that I listened to all 5 of these albums yesterday, and the variety of musical styles and lyrical styles was really wonderful, and I highly recommend, of course, for all of these categories, I recommend looking everything up, but perhaps music is the easiest to find. So if you're looking for someone to start here. And the winner of the Lyrics Award this year, Christian Asplund, for his album Fragility. Christian. Oh, wait, Christian, I'm going to read your citation. You would probably like to hear it. It goes like this. The songs on Fragility are reminiscent of both hymns and haikus. Both the lyrics and the music are at times hard to decipher, but with careful listening, they tear your heart out. The first song in the collection, Rider, contains telegraphic bursts of information about a past event, perhaps the crucifixion. The narrator claims to have firsthand knowledge of this event, whatever it might be, then states that he remembers nothing else about it. Other tunes feature whimsical wordplay and sometimes even seemingly drug-induced rambling. And the accompanying music perfectly matches all these altered states, revealing a craftsman working on a high plane of composition and musicianship. Asplund's songs lack the conventional and comforting familiar structure of most popular music, but if you're longing for something truly groundbreaking, this album should fit the bill. Christian.
Thank you very much. This is really heartening. I compose a lot of music in lots of different genres. This is my first singer-songwriter outing, and so it's fun to get an award for lyrics. I've toyed with lyrics for my whole life, but this is sort of like the first time I've put them on things that I've released. And I want to thank Rob Buchert, who is the engineer and producer, and he put a lot into shaping the songs, and I played the piano and viola and sang, but then he did kind of like everything else. So anyway, this is very exciting. I really appreciate this recognition.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Let's move on to novel. You may notice as you look at 2 of these 4 titles that this is the first year that both for the novel and for short story, the AML has been able to put together a fully bilingual panel of awards judges. And therefore, we were able to judge works in two languages, both English and Spanish. And Spanish language, we are starting to see much more exciting literature. Maybe we're just finding it. I'm not the expert here. We'll hear from an expert later. But the important thing is that we were able to go back the last few years and add some Spanish language books to the pile. And you can see a couple made it here as finalists. The finalists you see are The Jupiter Knife, Eleusis, Picnic in the Ruins, and Noria. And the winner this year is Eleusis by R. de la Lanza. Eleusis offers a sweeping, multi-generational portrait of Mormon life in Mexico during the 20th century. The novel has no single protagonist, but opens by depicting a man named Moroni receiving a phone call with the news that his best friend, a lifelong and faithful Latter-day Saint, has died. Although Moroni has not been to church in years, he is invited to help dress his friend in temple robes before burial. The scene's frankness about sexuality and the material details of Mormon life presage the novel's distinctive vision of faith as something lived and embodied, not merely believed or contemplated. The novel moves backward and forward and laterally among characters in short narrative episodes that build on one another and become entangled. This novel provides invaluable perspective on Mormonism outside the United States, and it does so through lyrical language, economical character development, and complex narrative form. Raphael, I believe you're here.
Well, what can I say? Thank you so much. I'd like to thank Gabriel and James that supported me a lot. They have believed in this particular book, and I'm so thankful. I can't believe this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raphael. I should mention, since you mentioned James, that James Goldberg's translation of the opening of the novel is available in a recent episode, or excuse me, a recent issue of Dialogue, and I highly recommend checking that out. If you are on YouTube right now, somebody who knows where the link is, please throw it in the chat feed so that everyone can find it. Thanks for joining us, Raphael. Let's talk about short fiction.
Derek?
Yes, please.
One little programming note. Tatum, who just won the drama award, is going to perform tonight in Los Angeles, perform her play. So she won't be able to be here with us for the readings. But I just asked her, she could do a short readings from it in the next 10 minutes. So I think that would be great. So how about after the next maybe one or two awards, then we'll give her about 5 minutes to do a reading. Okay?
That's okay with me. Unless there's a rebellion on YouTube, I think we will go with that.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much. So, short fiction. A couple interesting notes about these ones. You'll notice that we have something originally written in Spanish again. You also notice that Skillick's Bride is an interactive work of fiction, which is a first for the AML finalists. So, yeah, and exciting. I have other things I would like to say about every single one of these stories, but I'm going to hold back and just announce that the winner of these, the options, of course, being Good Shepherd Church by Riley Clay, Between Glory and Ruin by James Goldberg, Skillick's Bride by Rachel Helps, The Wall by Spencer Hyde, and Y No Preguntes Más by Mario R. Montani. The winner is Y No Preguntes Más, So Ask No More, published in Erie Anthem. Montani's story is an extraordinary work of speculative fiction, introducing readers to Amaliel, one of those who followed Lucifer in opposition to the Father's plan of salvation. As a member of the Punishing Brethren, Amaliel is tasked with destroying the marriage of a young couple, Pablo and Eliza, who have recently experienced a miscarriage. To his utter surprise, his attempts fail as he begins to feel the intensity of feeling these mortals have for one another and the child they have lost, and he finds himself doubting the master plan of Brother Lucifer and aching instead to join the cause of Christ. Montani's tale of this wavering soul winds itself to an astonishing conclusion and offers a genuinely fresh take on issues related to the plan of salvation, the fall of Adam and Eve, and the depth and breadth of hope the atonement of Jesus Christ provides even the most sinful of sinners. It is glorious. I'd like to mention that it was translated into English by Gabriel González Núñez, and give the time to Mario.
Good evening to all. I am grateful to the association for this recognition. The AML has been an inspiration for all of us living abroad. The Cuban poet José Martí said once that learning to read was like learning to walk, but trying to write instead was almost like learning to fly. And I have the feeling that I am receiving a new pair of wings in this occasion with humbleness and gratitude. I would also like to thank Gabriel González Núñez for his beautiful translation of my story. Thanks again.
Thank you. The AML has long desired to be in connection with our brothers and sisters in literary arts throughout all the many languages of Earth, and this feels like an important moment to us also. Thank you for your words, Mario. I'm going to give the special award in fiction real quick, and then we will give the time to Tatum. So speaking of Gabriel González Núñez, he is receiving a special award in fiction for his collection Estampas del Libro de Mormón, which is a collection of nearly 30 biographical sketches of characters from the Book of Mormon. Divided into 3 parts, Generations, the Old Country, and the Great Nephite Nation, Estampas invites us to listen to the voices of major and minor Book of Mormon characters, and thus enrich our understanding of their inner lives, their personal challenges, and their hopes for their posterity. These imaginative sketches are unique, insightful, and beautifully written. From Lehi the Visionary to Abish the Servant to Gadianton the Robber, Gabriel casts new light on these personalities. What is most impressive, however, is the distinctiveness of each voice. Though the structure of each sketch is similar, the mood and tone shifts from page to page, story to story, person to person. With Enos, we feel the spiritual potential of the forest. With Coriantumr, the physical and spiritual exhaustion of living in post-war solitude. Núñez masterfully reveals the conversion of King Lamoni and provides a tender portrayal of the discouraged Corianton who, despite his greater desires, continues to cave to temptation. Those who pick up this slender volume should be prepared. It packs a spiritual punch. Gabriel? I think
Thank
Gabriel.
you. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. And I'd like to, first of all, thank my wife who's supportive of me sitting down to write, which is time that I really feel is like stolen from my family. This book is self-published, so I have to thank the people that also directly helped me with it, such as Santiago Vasquez for his careful reading and feedback on the draft, as well as Diana González, David González Celsarco, who also provided feedback at different points. And of course, I'd like to thank Andrew Hall and James Goldberg and his dream team at Mormon Lit Lab for opening the doors really to works of Mormon fiction, Mormon literature in languages other than English. And of course, that includes my thanking, I don't know if this is proper form, but the judges who looked kindly upon this work. So thank you all.
Thank you, Gabriel. And for those who are wondering, Gabriel was the expert that I mentioned would be coming up on works published in Spanish. And now let's pause and Tatum, take it away. I'll stop sharing. I think. Oops. Maybe I'll stop sharing. I am having a really hard time stopping. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's all yours.
Hey. And I am going to since this is a performance, I'm going to read it, but you will see it's a one-woman show, so I'm going to be doing different voices. So have fun. Okay, here we go. Amen. Thank you so much for that closing prayer. All right, everyone. Next week in Sunday school, we will be in John 8. The woman taken in adultery is brought before Christ. Please read. Ha ha! Sorry to interrupt your lesson, dear sister. Oh, this is a young singles ward, so you can call me Jane. Are you new? Quiet. I, Nick, am but an outsider to your singles ward, but I must speak For there is an adulteress among us. Men, save your hard-earned cash, I warn thee. Do not date this woman, for she hath committed the sin next to murder on her now ex-husband. Save your virgin selves from the evils of this whore. Hey, adulteress! Reveal my aim. Hey, okay, that's not actually how it happened. I didn't wear a scarlet letter, and Nick only told one of his friends not to date me because of what I had done to my ex-husband, Kevin. Nevertheless, word got out, and my loyal roommate whispered to me what Nick had said and pointed him out at the singles ward that Sunday. I caught his judging eyes looking down on me as if he knew me. I don't think we'd ever even met. And he had no doubt heard some extremely truncated and biased version of the truncated and biased story you're about to hear. Now, who am I and what the heck is a singles ward? Bishop? Hi, I'm Tatum's bishop. Tatum is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, LDS for short, or AKA Mormons. We are not polygamists anymore. A singles ward is a congregation of young unmarried adults ages 18 to 31. Now, Bishop, the LDS Church does teach repentance and redemption through the atonement of Jesus Christ. How could Nick judge me without knowing the full story? Well, Tatum, let's see what your favorite Mormon prophet, Gordon B. Hinckley, had to say on the matter. There is no principle on which the Latter-day Saints lay greater emphasis than the sacredness of the marriage covenant. In Mormon theology, adultery is next to murder in gravity. Strict morality is taught, and the church has used its means liberally to teach its youth the necessity for moral cleanliness and the blessings of happy marriage. Well, shucks, Bishop, that doesn't exactly answer my question, but it might explain a few things. First, let's take you to the beginning of this Mormon happy marriage. I met Kevin at the end of my freshman year at Utah Valley University. I was an English major, but I so wanted to be an actor. I was a pretty shy and reserved kid growing up. So when I met Kevin, hey, Tate, look, river dance. Dance with me, baby. Tate, let's make a funny video. Here, wear this wig. Hilarious. Tate, we're almost to the top. Whoa, waterfall. Let's jump in. Oh, frick, that's cold. Road trip, Vegas. Smile at the camera, Tate. Oh, frick, my car just broke down. Well, could have been worse. Adventure! Hey, Tate, I think I'm gonna dye my hair green. What do you think? You know what? I think I'm gonna shave it. Whoa, mohawk. You don't like it? It's gone. Whoa, Kevin. Kevin and I were always laughing. He made videos of every adventure and goofy thing he had us doing. We spoke of dreams of moving to London. I would study acting. He would study film. He unlocked a playful side of me, and with his natural enthusiasm and charisma, he even got me excited to join a network marketing company called Pyramid. Tate, this is how we'll afford to move to London. We dated for about 2 years, which is long for Mormons who don't have sex before marriage. And I'll end there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tatum. I can see at least the people on the call clapping. So
Thank you.
And I will not be offended if anyone who is near LA changes their plans and goes and watches the show tonight. Are there seats still available, Tatum?
Yes, there are. And I'll put in the chat, or I don't know how to let people know where to go, but if you follow REDEEMHer _solo show, or if you follow me, my name on Facebook or Instagram, you can find out more information. But it starts at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Doors at 6:30. So please come if you're around.
Thank you. All right, starting the train back up. Let's move on to poetry. Our finalists are Beneath the Falls by Mark D. Benyon, Down There Spears by Jared Pierce, and The Ache in the Wing by Sunny Brown Wilkinson. And our winner is The Ache and the Wing. In her moving chapbook, Wilkinson confesses, "I could never be a prophet. So much sad truth to say." But it is her brutal honesty that fills this collection of poems about death and loss. She writes of a Latter-day Saint bishop, who testifies of the resurrection while grieving the deaths of his own son and father, reassuring his ward members of the promise of renewed life, while silently thinking of bodies that break, that bear each other, that hold one another in dark places, of the God who sees it all. Wilkinson writes in the voice of her husband's dying grandfather, mourning for the loss of his farm. "Every stick I lifted from the grass, each spring's first mowing, each fence post mending, a reaching for my parents' vanished hands." The painful loss of children and parents finds its fullest expression when Wilkinson writes of her own stillborn child, whose absence permeates the entire volume. All her poems struggle to find meaning in the darkest alleluia of this painful loss, but they often end with a bleak realization that sometimes a child dies and all things are ugly. Ultimately, though, these poems are like pet parakeets who keep singing after their companion has flown off to frigid death. Like God, she writes, they make music out of nothing. And Sunny was planning on attending if she had enough Wi-Fi in her vacation lodge. Are you there, Sunny?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you so much. This is a huge honor. Thank you to Association for Mormon Letters. And like you said, I wrote a lot of these poems in a period of intense grief. And so it was very therapeutic and helpful for me to be able to write about my son and about loss. And I'm just thrilled that the work has been able to connect with other people, and that, you know, someone's personal loss can translate to someone else's personal loss, and that we can connect that way through poetry. So thank you so much. This is a huge honor. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sunny. This year, the AML is giving the Smith Pettit Foundation Award for Outstanding Contribution to Mormon Letters to Darlene Young. I will be just reading a short section of her citation. Remember, the citations in full will be on the website soon. I'm going to only read the first and last paragraphs. It goes on for a few pages, and I highly recommend looking it up. Early in her career, Darlene Young made a conscious decision to write about Latter-day Saint experience for a Latter-day Saint audience. Mormonism is endlessly fascinating, she has said. It's strange and wild and beautiful and, yes, sometimes frustrating and provincial and musty. It's quirky and awesome in the original definition of that word. Her vision that Mormon literature should encompass the depth and breadth of both Mormon life and the Mormon cosmos has not only shaped her achievement as a poet and essayist, it has also made her a generous leader in the field of Mormon letters. She is also a gifted teacher who has helped her students realize the potential of LDS literature. Darlene Young is something of a visionary, as was Orson F. Whitney when he said, "We will yet have Miltons and Shakespeares of our own." Like Whitney, she believes in the potential of Latter-day Saints to create a body of truly great literature. She has devoted both time and talent to the development of that literature, and she has provided exemplary art that makes use of both the loftiness of our eternal doctrines and our humble and fumbling daily attempts to live up to them. It is our very good fortune that we have a Darlene Young of our own, and it is a joy to present her with this award, the 2022 Smith Pettit Foundation Award for Outstanding Contribution to Mormon Letters. I hope if you had a chance earlier today to tune into Darlene's presentation, that you enjoyed it. And if you did not, it's on YouTube. So my understanding is Darlene was not going to comment now, but I don't want to step on your feet, Darlene, if you happen to be on the call. So I will pause for just a moment before I move on to picture book.
Comment, Darlene.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm here, but
Okay.
I said plenty earlier today. Just thank you very, very much. And thank you to Susan Hale for that wonderful citation. I love AML. Thank you.
Thank you, Darlene. One thing that did not come up in the excerpt I read is how much Darlene has done for the AML. And we are in your debt, Darlene. Picture books. We have 5 finalists. The Boy and the Sea, A Child of God, We Believe, Illustrated Articles of Faith, Thankful, and 10 Little Disciples. And the winning picture book is A Child of God, written by Chantel and Mauli Bonner, illustrations by Morgan Bissant. In A Child of God, a Black boy and girl ask their parents why they don't resemble a painting of blonde-haired angels. Their parents tell them that God made us different colors, the way he made different colors of flowers, but we are all still his children, and that angels look like everyone, not just like one person's artistic interpretation. Then encourage them to draw their own pictures of angels. The authors and illustrator are all Black, and it is evident that the message of this beautiful, thoughtful book is informed by real conversations they've had in their families or communities. While Christian families of color will welcome the publication of this book, white adults may see it and think it is not for them or their white children. This is not true. It is just as important that white families learn about these ideas as a way to examine privilege and counteract bias. We cannot be truly united in faith until we learn to appreciate the diversity of all members of the body of Christ. And I believe Brother Bonner is here. Maybe. Maybe not.
No, I don't think he is.
Okay, did not make it. I would like to mention just before we move on to the next thing that Mauli Bonner was also on the finalist list in film. He was the writer and director of My Name is Greenflake. But let's move on to middle grade novel. Our finalists: Breathing Underwater, Horace and Bunwinkle, Friends Forever, Tips for Magicians, and Cece Rios and the Desert of Souls. And the winner is Cece Rios and the Desert of Souls by Kaela Rivera. Kaela Rivera's Cece Rios and the Desert of Souls is a compelling middle grade fantasy novel about a girl who must partner with a criatura and enter the Bruja fights in order to save her sister. It is a story about friendship and family, loyalty and love, and most of all, about holding on to your beliefs. Cece faces hard, near impossible choices, and yet she always shows courage and willingly sacrifices for others in this rich story permeated by the tension of life and survival in a desert landscape reminiscent of certain regions of Mexico. Kaela, are you out there?
Yes, I am. I've had my camera off because I'm sick right now. So if my voice sounds gravelly, you know why. But thank you so much for this award that is stunning and beautiful. And I'm extremely grateful. I dedicated this book to both my mom, who's from England, and my abuelo, who grew up in Mexico. And to me, it's such a perfect encapsulation of the things that they taught me about love and dedication, working hard and enduring, pushing through, and loving, probably most importantly of all. So I'm grateful for everything that they taught me and that I can pass that on to some other people too. Because Cece Rios was it was a mixture of immensely joyful and deeply painful to write because of the time it was in my life. But I'm grateful to have that as a memorial to all that I went through, as well as something that I can pass on to whisper love and hope to other people throughout the world. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for that tribute. Let's move on to young adults. Young adult novel finalists: A Sisterhood of Secret Ambitions, Beyond the Mapped Stars, Where I Belong, Fade Away, and In the Wild Light. And our winner is Beyond the Mapped Stars by Rosalind Eves. I actually don't know. I should have asked. You can tell us when you speak. The protagonist of Beyond the Mapped Stars is a young Mormon girl living in Monroe, Utah in the 1870s. Her days are spent helping her mother with the family, but in her heart, she loves the night skies and longs to become an astronomer. She meets a group of women scientists who give her a vision of who she could be if she followed her scientific ambitions. As she pursues her chance to study an eclipse, she struggles to navigate doubts and conflicts about her faith and her role within that faith, her duty to her family, and her desire to realize her ambitions to study the stars. Rosalind.
Hi, thank you. And it's Eves. You were right with that. I just want to say what an honor this is. I've read most of the other finalists, and they are all fantastic books. This has been something that's been on my bucket list since I knew there was such a thing as the Association for Mormon Letters and that they had awards. But this is especially meaningful to me because this book was probably the most personal of the books that I've written. It was a hard book to write. It's hard, turns out it's hard to write about faith in ways that are honest and that appeal to hopefully a wide audience. And I'm just really grateful that this book resonated with readers from my faith community.
Thank you so much. I'd like to point out real quick that I have Beyond the Map Stars on hold at my local library right now. And I'd like to remind everyone who's listening right now that while buying books is a wonderful thing to do for writers, asking your library to buy them is also an excellent thing to do. And I've put in requests for many of the books on these short lists to my local library, and I encourage everyone else to do the same too. Give other people a chance to find and to read these books as well. Creative nonfiction. Our finalists are Blossom as the Cliff Rose, Where the Soul Hungers, Zion Earth, Zen Sky, Scrupulous, and 99 Fire Hoops. And this year's winner is Zion Earth, Zen Sky by Charles Shiro Inouye. Zion Earth, Zen Sky is a raw and powerful, it's an engaging autobiography that pulls the reader in and won't let go. Powerful and transformative, the twin streams of Buddhism and Mormonism flow through Charles Inouye's new memoir like water. Inouye tells his life story sequentially, and chapter by chapter lays out the lessons learned as he seeks both the Buddhist concept of enlightenment and the Mormon concept of eternal progression. Failures and successes get their haikus in equal portions. Zion Earth, Zen Sky is a poetic expression of the kind of lives we should be living. Inouye invites us, as does Christ, to help rake the Lord's garden, failing to gain permanent perfection, but finding joy in the process of learning and improving with each set of furrows. Charles, the time is yours.
Well, thank you. I'm honored and surprised to get this award. Forgive me for saying that for most of my life, I've not wanted to be a Mormon writer. I've always wanted to be a writer, but being a Mormon writer to my mind meant being parochial. But things changed. I think one thing that did change is that during the course of my lifetime, my spiritual life and my intellectual life have merged in a way that I never would have predicted. Which is to say that for me, now being a Mormon writer is a way for me to be also someone engaged in the very most cutting edge topics that we consider now in the humanities, such as the post-human, the neo-animistic, the newly materialistic, and the end of the secular period. People ask me why I wrote this book, and I often say that I don't know really why, but I do think that the spirit of Elijah has prompted me to write something like this. Another question that comes up is why I am or have been so open about my own weaknesses. And I think the answer to the second question is also an answer to the first, which is to say that if there is to be a turning of the hearts of the children to their fathers and from the fathers to their children, that heart has to be at some level a broken heart and also a joyful one. I have many people to thank, including all the people who end up in this book. Especially, I'd like to thank my wife, Ray, and my sons, Leaf and Khan, my daughter, Mia, and my 3 dogs, Satsuki, Hank, and Rudy. I'd like to thank Melissa Inoue, who's my niece, for steering me to the Maxwell Institute. Thanks to all the people there at the Institute, and especially to Shirley Ricks, who I think was the best editor I have ever worked with. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Criticism. The finalists in criticism this year are Vardis Fisher, a Mormon novelist, The Case for Resurrection, a Mormon movie manifesto, Theologies of the Afterlife in Mormon Women's Late 19th Century Poetry, and Mormonism in SF. And our winner is Vardis Fisher, a Mormon novelist, by Michael Austin. Michael Austin's monograph is a remarkable feat within Mormon literary criticism. The brevity of this biography belies the depth of its contribution. Much as Fisher himself pursued an intellectual genealogy of Mormon doctrine and culture in his fiction, Austin establishes the lineage of Mormon letters, which first entered the mainstream of American book publishing with Fisher. This treatment of Fisher's life and work delivers a richly detailed understanding of the genesis of Mormon literature and the tensions that surround its development. This volume not only promotes a critical study of Mormon writers and literature, but illuminates the place of our writers within the larger intellectual landscape of the nation in the early 20th century. Before I give the time to Michael, I'd just like to remind everyone that these citations are abbreviated. Fuller ones will be coming. And I would also like to mention that Michael Austin is being awarded this year's AML Lifetime Achievement Award. He's done great work. I hope you had a chance to see his panel earlier today also. If not, it's also on YouTube. But among the many, many things that Michael Austin has done, I don't even want to summarize them. I recommend reading the citation as soon as it's posted. Michael, thank you for all the work you've done and for all the work you are doing and for all the work we still expect from you. So don't stop yet. Michael, their attention is yours.
So I am feeling profoundly embarrassed by riches and recognition today, and I am so grateful to the Association for Mormon Letters, a group that I have admired and been somewhat part of for 30 years, and that's done just a tremendous amount of good in sponsoring and recognizing Mormon literature. And I have had many things to say today. Right now, I will just say thank you.
Thank you, Michael. We have no doubt that we will hear from you again in future years. Let's move on to religious nonfiction. Our finalists this year are Stretching the Heavens, The Life of Eugene England and the Crisis of Modern Mormonism, The Restoration, God's Call to the 21st Century World, The Anatomy of Book of Mormon Theology, Proclaim Peace, The Restoration's Answer to an Age of Conflict, and Humility, A Practical Approach. And our winner is Proclaim Peace by Patrick Q. Mason and J. David Pulsifer. Proclaim Peace speaks directly to our conflict-ridden world through academic scholarship, solid logic, persuasive examples, and the best religious thinking on peace. It is both readable and philosophic, approachable by the lay member and the trained thinker. Disciples of the Prince of Peace will resonate with its goals, and even readers who disagree will feel invited to join in meaningful conversation on violence in our modern world. With generosity and perspective, humility and thought, and charity for readers, the authors of Proclaim Peace invite us to communicate about the violence that has threatened the fabric of society since Cain slew Abel. Patrick, I believe you're on the line.
I am, and David is too. So let me just say thanks to everybody. It's great to have this work recognized like this. When David and I worked on this for about a decade, and our greatest fear was that nobody would read it. I think that's every author's greatest fear. And so it's great for this work to be seen because we think this message is so important and at the very heart of what it means to be a Christian in the 21st century. So thanks very much.
Yes, I just would like to add what a tremendous honor it is to have this awarded, particularly at a conference that's honoring the life of Eugene England and the legacy of Eugene England, who was one of my early writing professors, and his work on peace. And of course, peace was a tremendous part of his own writing. It inspired Patrick and I at so many points during our journey in this book, this 10-year journey. And it was just an honor to work with Patrick on this, and so grateful that for this award. Thank you.
Thank you to both of you. It's an exciting topic. This year, we're giving a special award in nonfiction to Christine Haglund for Eugene. Oh, actually, Christine, speaking of last names, I noticed last night someone called you Hogland, and I've been saying Haglund all the time. So I'd really appreciate you clarifying that for me. But your book, Eugene England, a Mormon Liberal, is receiving a special award this year. Eugene England was the last Mormon liberal of his kind. At least that's one of your many contentions in your invigorating and awakening book on England's life and thinking. Your book outlines how England bridged early and contemporary Mormonism. Born in the farmland of Idaho, England kept in close contact with many apostles and church leaders, building an intimate relationship with authorities that is hard to fathom today. You've shown how England's thought developed, his Mormon faith always influencing, even being the catalyst to his politics and activism. The book is not simply a biography of a man, but an engagement with his works, with his words, his legacy. Through your careful analysis of the corpus of England's work, you've invited a new generation of Mormon thinkers, activists, theologians, and historians to learn about one of the greatest Mormon thinkers of the 20th century and to follow his example of charitable dialogue, candor, and tolerance. Christine.
Thanks. I want to, first of all, thank Charlotte Hanson Terry and the archivists at the University of Utah who have done such a beautiful job of preserving England's papers and making them easy to work with and discover. And also the England Family Foundation and the people who've worked on the Eugene England website that makes so much of his work readily available. That made my job much, much easier. And I want to thank the Association for Mormon Letters for carrying on Gene's legacy. I love thinking about how delighted and grateful he would be to see this proliferation of great work this year and to be talking about it in his honor. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. On to podcast. So 5 podcasts made the cut for finalists this year. They are Faith Matters, Latter-day Contemplation, Leading Saints, Sunstone Mormon History, and This is the Gospel. And the award goes to This is the Gospel from LDS Living. Karen Lay, host, producer, editor, Erica Free, and Katie Lambert, producers and editors, Derek Campbell, mixer, Aaron Hallstrom, executive producer. This is the Gospel is a storytelling podcast with the goal to share and collect and share personal stories illustrating the challenges and triumphs of living in the latter days. The content and delivery of these stories together create a beautiful work of Mormon art, a library of oral literature with great value. We give high praise to the team behind This is the Gospel for their diligence and discernment in sourcing raw material by soliciting and screening story submissions from across the global Mormon diaspora. We are equally impressed by the editing and formatting done to prepare these stories for consumption and maximize their impact. The presence and performance of the women who produce and host the show is frequently accretive, knitting the stories to their themes. The technical aspects of the show are best in class. The audio quality, music, show notes, user interface, and other details are reflective of the obvious respect and reverence the creative team has for the stories they've been given. And I've been told that someone on this list who works on the podcast is here, but I do not know who it is. So I would like to give it to the mystery guest.
Hi, it's me. I'm Corinne.
Corinne, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I've been called Karen my whole life. So my name's Corinne Lay, and I almost started crying at that description because it is true that we have such a deep reverence for the stories that we've been able to share on This is the Gospel. And it always seems a little weird to me to accept an award for this podcast as the host and producer and as the founding producer of this, but because the stories are really the thing, and it has been the privilege of my life to be a part of this. We actually ended the podcast this past year because I moved on from Deseret Book and LDS Living, and it was deeply sad, but also triumphant to look back at this body of work, to have 85 produced episodes of such beautiful stories of people's lives living and trying to struggle through and triumph over in the gospel. And I just want to thank Deseret Book for making space for these kinds of stories. They were raw, they were real, and they didn't pull any punches about what's difficult about being a member of our church, while also helping us to shine a light on what's beautiful about it. And I also just want to thank my husband, Justin, who was a champ on the many, many, many late nights, calling people around the world to try to get stories for this podcast. So, and the team that put it together is just world class. So thank you. I'm thrilled and a little bit starstruck by some of the people that are on this call and that I get to be in the company of. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Corinne. One of the purposes of award shows, of course, is to help us find the excellent stuff that is out there. And podcasts in particular are so noisy sometimes it's hard to find something to listen to. And I'm grateful that this is the new thing I'm going to be looking forward to. After I read the citation yesterday, I became very excited to jump into This Is the Gospel. So thank you for making it. And I don't want to talk anymore. We are, as you can tell, if you're good at clocks, we are running a little behind time. So I'm going to let Mel end this call and we will jump right into the reading. So whoever has the YouTube link, if it already exists, please throw it in the YouTube chat for the next location to go to. Check out the Twitter and the Facebook. The link is going to be showing up everywhere and we're going to go right now. Mel.
Hello. I actually thought we were ahead of time.
Yeah, we're ahead of time. It's not supposed to end. We don't do the readings till 7:30, right?
Oh, I guess I'm the person who's bad at clocks.
I was like, no, Eric is going. He's going. We're done. Woo!
Yeah,
That's great.
If my wife was here, she would tell you the clocks are not my strong point. So I guess everybody gets a break. Hey.
Yeah, well, it's ice cream time, everybody. Not to tell you what to do. I'm not that kind of person. We'll take a break and congratulations to all of the winners. We're so glad this has been a jam-packed hour to spend with you. It's really exciting, all of the work that's been happening in a time when it feels like there's nothing good happening in the world. So we will, I'm gonna take this call offline and everybody that's watching the live stream, we will be back at 7:30 Mountain Time in roughly half an hour to hear some readings from our winners.